Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Attorney General Pam Bondi fielded questions from senators today, including about Arctic frost, regarding which Grassley exposed how the Biden FBI tapped several senators' phones, and President Trump met with Canadian PM Mark Carney today. Okay, let's get into it. President Trump welcomed Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney to the White House today. During their meeting in the Oval Office, President Trump said that he has made Carney very popular and called him a world-class leader.
I can tell you this because I deal with lots of leaders all over the world. He is a world-class leader. He's a man that knows what he wants, and I'm not surprised to see that he won the election and won it substantially, and I would think he's more popular now. He's a good man. He does a great job, and he's a tough negotiator.
And in response, Carney praised the many achievements by President Trump.
You kindly hosted me and some of my colleagues a few months ago, and I said at the time, you are a transformative president. And since then, the transformation in the economy, unprecedented commitments of NATO partners to defense spending, peace from India, Pakistan through to Azerbaijan, Armenia, disabling Iran as a force of terror, and now, and I'm running out of time, but this is in many respects the most important.
The merger of Canada and the United States.
That wasn't where I was going. On this.
Then instead, Carney mentioned President Trump's efforts to bring peace between Israel and Hamas through the 20-point plan that President Trump presented last week. President Trump did mention again, though, the merging of Canada with the United States during the meeting. It was apparently in jest, and the topic was not broached further. Regarding trade, President Trump signaled a more friendly stance towards Canada compared with the previous meeting with Carney. He expressed optimism about reaching an agreement, saying that Canadians will be very happy and that the people of Canada, they will love us again. President Trump also acknowledged that ongoing trade tensions stem from the two nations competing in similar industries, calling it a natural business conflict. But President Trump emphasized that the United States would treat Canada fairly, and the meeting that lasted a total of 2.5 hours ended with laughter.
So then what's holding things up? If he's a great man and you want to do a deal with Canada, why aren't you?
Because I want to be a great man, too. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. That could have been. I think you got that one. That could have been good. Thank you very much.
The meeting today was Prime Minister Mark Carney's second visit to the White House since he met with President Trump on May 6. Following the previous meeting, Carney told reporters that their very constructive and wide-ranging discussions would continue. But he did not say when he believed Ottawa would get the United States to remove tariffs. Throughout 2025, the Trump administration has imposed sweeping tariffs on Canada, including 50% duties on steel, aluminum, and copper, 25% on vehicles and auto parts, and 10% on oil and potash. The Trump administration initially imposed 25% tariffs on Canadian exports that are not covered by the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement, which was then increased to 35% in August. Meanwhile, new tariffs are incoming, such as 25% on home fixtures, 10% on timber, and a massive 100% on big-name pharmaceuticals. And President Trump said that foreign movies and semiconductors are next. Canada's Trade Minister Dominic LeBlanc recently said that he's hopeful that the two countries can reach a deal before the United States-Mexico-Canada agreement review hits in 2026, but he didn't give any timeline for when it could actually happen. LeBlanc also made it clear that Canada's supply management system for dairy, chicken, eggs, and turkey is off the table in any U.S. trade talks, but President Trump has repeatedly criticized Canada's supply management tariffs. In the meantime, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has been critical of the Liberal Party for failing to make a deal with President Trump before the deadline.
Since Carney became Prime Minister, the existing American tariffs have doubled on Canada, and the Chinese have now piled on with their own tariffs. So Mark Carney is losing abroad, and Canadians are paying the price at home. And it just seems that every few weeks he steps up and makes new concessions and backs down, while getting absolutely nothing in return. So what would I do differently than that? One, I would go to the Americans and say, we can be richer, safer, and more secure by working together. We will do our part, which is to rebuild our military and secure our part of the continent, including the Arctic, unburdening the Americans from our security. We should be able to protect ourselves. And that will make both our countries safer, in exchange for which we would like to have unbridled access to the American market, the biggest and most lucrative market the world has ever seen. And we can have unbridled free trade that enriches both sides of the border, but that we expect for it to be reciprocal. And my message to the Americans would be, to our American friends, is that the more you trade with us, the more we can afford to build up our military and protect the safety and security of all North Americans.
The government shutdown has entered its 7th day today. The Senate again rejected 2 competing party bills to fund the government yesterday evening. Yesterday, we mentioned that before the Senate started voting, President Trump told reporters at the Oval Office that he was on the phone with Democrats over the shutdown.
We have a negotiation going on right now with the Democrats that could lead to very good things.
What kind of
and I'm talking about good things with regard to health care.
Are you speaking with Democratic leaders? What kind of negotiations?
Well, I don't want to say that. But we are speaking with the Democrats, and some very good things could happen with respect to health care.
Would you make a deal with them on the ACA subsidies?
If we made the right deal, I'd make a deal, sure.
So you would make
I mean, you have right now subsidies. You have subsidies. That's the problem with Obamacare. The subsidies are so much. It's billions and billions of dollars is being wasted. And we can have a much better health care than we have right now. And we're talking to them. I mean, I'm not saying that's going to happen, because this has also been going on, not for 3,000 years, but it's been going on for a long time. But, yeah, we're talking to the Democrats.
You would work to make a deal with them on...
I'd like to see a deal made for great health care. Yeah, I want to see great health. I'm a Republican, but I want to see health care much more so than the Democrats.
Then the Senate started voting. In a 45-50 vote, they first voted down the Democrats' funding bill, which again sought to revise health care measures that were introduced in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Then they rejected a Republican-backed measure to temporarily extend government funding at the existing levels before the shutdown by a 52-42 vote. Both parties' bills would have extended funding for several weeks, which would have pushed the deadline to November, while lawmakers could have continued working on 12 mandatory funding bills for various sectors of the government. And both sides say that they won an agreement, but they remain split. So the results of yesterday's vote suggest that little has changed. After the vote, President Trump wrote on Truth Social, Democrats have shut down the United States government right in the midst of one of the most successful economies, including a record stock market that our country has ever had. This has sadly affected so many programs, services, and other elements of society that Americans rely on. President Trump also wrote, I am happy to work with the Democrats on their failed healthcare policies or anything else, but first they must allow our government to reopen. Senate Majority Leader John Thune needs at least 8 Democrats to back the GOP bill, which would reopen the government. So far, just 3 senators, John Fetterman, Catherine Cortez Masto, and Angus King, have crossed party lines to support ending the shutdown. On the Republican side, Rand Paul remains the only holdout. And today, President Trump told reporters to expect some federal programs to be cut permanently during the shutdown.
President, have you identified programs to eliminate under this shutdown?
Oh, sure.
Which ones?
We have a lot. I'm not going to tell you, but we'll be announcing it pretty soon. But we have a lot of things that we're going to eliminate and permanently eliminate. You know, one of the things that we have is some advantage, you could say. But because of the shutdown, which I think they made a big mistake, we're able to take out billions and billions of dollars of waste, fraud, and abuse. And they've handed it, on a silver platter. And Russell Vogt, he's a serious person, very serious person, and he's sitting there and he's getting ready to cut things.
And he also talked about layoffs one more time.
How many permanent jobs are you talking about to be eliminated?
Well, I can tell you, I'll be able to tell you that in 4 or 5 days if this keeps going on. If this keeps going on, it'll be substantial, and a lot of those jobs will never come back. But you're going to have a lot closer to a balanced budget, actually.
And yesterday, Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy said that air traffic control towers were experiencing staffing issues during the shutdown. Around the country, air traffic controllers are already working mandatory overtime and 6-day weeks in order to compensate for an ongoing shortage of trained personnel. Even with new recruits in training, the FAA is still short by about 3,500 of its targeted staffing levels nationwide. And now, while the government is shut down, around 13,000 air traffic controllers are still on the job, but they might not get paid. The same goes for roughly 50,000 Transportation Security Administration officers who keep America's airports running regardless of their paychecks. But still, across airports nationwide, reports are coming in of air traffic controller shortages, which raise concerns about flight safety and delays. Duffy said that the FAA is tracking the issue closely as different regions experience staff shortages on different days, and Duffy said that absenteeism has reached up to 50%. President Trump also confirmed the delay issue.
They're all Democrat delays. There are delays at the airport. That's standard. And again, this is something that every day we put forth a bill. It's just a continuation. It's a very simple thing to sign and very simple to do.
Duffy also warned that the Essential Air Service program, which helps keep flights running to small towns across America, could lose its funding by October 12th if the shutdown continues.
Many small communities across the country that will now no longer have the resources to make sure they have air service in their community. The number one user of this airspace is Alaska. Again, you don't have roads in Alaska. They travel by air. And a lot of these are small communities. Alaska will be impacted, but every state across the country will be impacted by the inability to provide the subsidies to airlines to service these communities.
Assaults on ICE, immigration and custom enforcement officers are skyrocketing up over 1,000% this year, from car rammings to doxing and a shooting at an ICE facility. The attacks are getting bolder every day. Yesterday, during remarks at the White House, President Trump said that his administration is going to make things safe.
Mr. President,
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Since the start of your administration, we've seen a lot more Americans wanting to join ICE. And as we're seeing more attacks on them right now, what's your message to rank and file ICE agents who are trying to do their jobs but are facing 1,000% increase in attacks?
I love your questions, you know. I like you. So who are you with?
I'm with NTD.
Very good.
The one who got mugged.
You were the one, that's what I thought. You got mugged. You're not getting mugged anymore.
Not anymore.
She was really, you're lucky to be with us with that deal that happened. I know all about that. Not anymore, though. You feel a different world out there, right?
Totally. You're safe with the baby nowadays.
Oh, good. Well, you're safe now. Nobody's going to be hurting you in any way.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. President, on the Supreme Court today.
Thank you. So the bottom line on your question, we're just going to make things real safe. We're going to have a country that you can be proud of, not a country that you read about every day where somebody gets mugged from behind or hit over the head with a baseball bat. Those people aren't with us any longer. Yeah, please.
And he pledged very severe consequences for anyone behind what officials described as organized ambushes of ICE officers.
I've seen a surge in attacks on ICE agents across the country, including the shooting in Dallas and over the weekend in Chicago. We saw 10 cars boxing in on ICE agents and another one ramming into an ICE vehicle.
Yeah.
We have heard Secretary Noem saying that some of these attackers are actually organized and they're planning to kill and ambush these officers.
Right.
What are the consequences for these?
Very severe. We're going to have very severe. We're going to find out who's going after our federal agents. So when you look at Chicago, they've had probably 50 murders in the last 6 or 7 months, 8 months. Many, many people shot, like 30, 40, 50 people shot. Didn't die, but they've been shot. It's like a war zone. And then I listened to the governor and the mayor get up and say how they have it under control. They don't. It's probably worse than almost any city in the world. You can go to Afghanistan. You can go to a lot of different places, and they probably marvel at how much crime we have. Then you go to Memphis, where we are right now. Now, it's just like in Washington, D.C. right now. You people know better than I do, because you have to live right inside. And so many of the press have come to me. They've said, I can't believe it. It's changed so much. We have a safe city in Washington. Memphis will very soon have a safe city. Chicago can be very, very safe. It's going to be very safe. but Chicago is going to be very safe.
And President Trump suggested that he would invoke the Insurrection Act if governors or courts blocked federal efforts to restore order.
Over a weekend. What?
The Insurrection Act, under what conditions or terms would you?
Well, I'd do it if it was necessary. So far it hasn't been necessary, but we have an Insurrection Act for a reason. If I had to enact it, I'd do that. If people were being killed and courts were holding us up, or governors or mayors were holding us up, sure, I'd do that. I mean, I want to make sure that people aren't killed. We have to make sure that our cities are safe.
Democratic leaders have often condemned ICE operations and accused the agency of overreach and compared them to secret police. But Homeland Security defends the operations and warns that any attacks on law enforcement will face the toughest prosecution. Today, Attorney General Pam Bondi testified about a wide array of topics before the Senate Judiciary Committee. The hearing, which was intended for oversight, featured questions about the Justice Department's investigation into high-profile figures such as convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein and former FBI Director James Comey, and the firing of employees who investigated President Trump or opposed Comey's indictment. In her opening statement, Bondi praised the Trump administration's crime enforcement efforts at the Justice Department, the FBI, the ATF, and the DEA. She said that federal surges led to more than 3,800 arrests in Washington and 365 illegal gun seizures in Memphis. She added that the DEA has seized nearly $470 million in criminal assets and that federal marshals have arrested more than 51,000 fugitives nationwide. Bondi also said that the ATF has already taken 23,000 illegal guns off the street and that about 3,400 of them were tied to gun trafficking between the U.S. and Mexico. And Bondi confirmed the 1,000% increase in violent attacks against our ICE officers recently. And when she took questions at one point, Judiciary Committee ranking member Dick Durbin asked about the rationale behind deploying the National Guard from Texas to Illinois.
The word is, and I think it's been confirmed by the White House, they are going to transfer Texas National Guard units to the state of Illinois. What's the rationale for that?
Yeah, Chairman, as you shut down the government, you voted to shut down the government, and you're sitting here, our law enforcement officers aren't being paid. They're out there working to protect you. I wish you loved Chicago as much as you hate President Trump. And currently, the National Guard are on the way to Chicago. If you're not going to protect your citizens, President Trump will. Your city has a murder rate 5 times higher than New York's. 571 homicides last year. If you were serious about protecting your people, you would be asking this administration for help. You're saying that we're coming into your state and your city. We're there to help make America safe and Illinois safe, whether or not you want to.
Bondi also responded to Chris Coons, who was claiming that President Trump was weaponizing the DOJ.
Senator Coons, as you have stated in the past, no one is above the law. Mm-hmm. And James Comey is a pending case right now. It's a pending indictment. He was indicted by one of the most liberal grand juries in the country, by our U.S. Attorney Lindsay Halligan, right here in Virginia. And it's a pending case, so I'm not going to discuss the facts of a pending case.
But you can understand the alarm about the circumstances of the indictment immediately following President Trump demanding that you take action to indict and prosecute that specific individual.
Senator Amy Klobuchar also asked multiple questions about Comey's indictment.
It has been reported that you initially pushed back against requests by senior Trump administration officials to push out or fire the acting U.S. attorney in Virginia, Eric Siebert, who's a conservative Republican, who made the decision that the evidence was not there to prosecute Comey. What made you change your opinion?
I am not going to discuss personnel decisions.
Okay. Is it true that the career prosecutors in the Eastern District of Virginia found that there was insufficient evidence to bring criminal charges against former Director Comey?
I am not going to discuss pending cases because Comey was indicted in the Eastern District of Virginia by, I may point out, one of the most liberal grand juries in the country.
Okay, let's go on to other firings or terminations. Last week, the Justice Department fired at least 2 senior attorneys in the Eastern District of Virginia, including the office's national security chief, Michael Benary. It is reported that his firing came following criticism from a right-wing social media commentator who wrote, "One can only assume he was part of the internal resistance in the Comey indictment." In fact, he did not work on the Comey case. Instead, he was working on pursuing justice for service members killed in Afghanistan. How does firing a 20-year national security prosecutor enhance public safety?
Senator Klobuchar, I'm not going to discuss personnel decisions, but the personnel issue that I'm having right now is that all of my agents, all of my lawyers are working. My agents are on the street working without a paycheck because your party voted to shut down the federal government.
And Bondi also explained about the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Tom Homan.
Good morning.
What became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Mr. Homan in a paper bag, evidently?
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
And that was not my question. My question was, what became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI delivered, evidently in a paper bag, to Mr. Homan?
Senator, I'd look at your facts.
Are you saying that they did not deliver $50,000 in cash to Mr. Homan?
Senator, as recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI agents, by Department of Justice prosecutors. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
That's a different question. What became of the $50,000? Did the FBI get it back?
Mr. Whitehouse, excuse me, Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to talk to the FBI.
The report to you, can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
And when asked about the Jeffrey Epstein client list, Pam Bondi repeated that it doesn't exist.
In February, you made a public claim that the Epstein client list was, quote, sitting on my desk right now for review, end of quote. You then produced already public information and no client list at a major media event hosted at the White House. Attorney General Bondi, why did you publicly claim to have the Epstein client list waiting for your review and then produce nothing relevant to that claim?
Senator Durbin, if you listen to my entire clip on that, I said I had not reviewed it yet, that it was sitting on my desk along with the JFK files, the Martin Luther King files, and I said I had not yet reviewed it. And if you see our memo on Epstein, you will see, excuse me, our memo on Epstein clearly points out that there was no client list, our July 6th memo.
Yesterday, the Supreme Court decided not to take up an appeal from convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell, who had asked the justices to toss out her sex trafficking convictions. Maxwell, who was an accomplice of Jeffrey Epstein, argued that the federal government violated an immunity deal when prosecuting her. She argued in a petition that the non-prosecution agreement that Epstein signed with the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Florida in 2007 meant that she should not have been prosecuted by the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York. But the Supreme Court denied the petition in an unsigned order without any justices dissenting. And yesterday, when asked about the Supreme Court ruling and a potential pardon, President Trump said that he would take a look at it.
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to speak to the DOJ. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
But she was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I'd have to ask DOJ. I didn't know they rejected it. I didn't know she was even asking for it.
Maxwell was convicted in December of 2021 in New York State on 5 counts of sex trafficking, including conspiracy to traffic minors. And in June of 2022, she was sentenced to 20 years in prison. According to a newly declassified document from 2023, which was made public by Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley yesterday, as part of the Arctic frost investigation, FBI agents carried out surveillance on the cell phones of Senators Marsha Blackburn, Lindsey Graham, Bill Hagerty, Josh Hawley, Ron Johnson, Cynthia Loomis, Dan Sullivan, and Tommy Tuberville. Representative Mike Kelly was also surveilled. The committee obtained information known as toll records. It was previously known that Representative Scott Perry and lawyers who represented President Trump had their phones seized as part of the investigation called Arctic Frost. Grassley also previously released records showing that the FBI acquired cell phones that were used by President Trump and former Vice President Mike Pence during the Arctic Frost probe. Arctic Frost started in 2022 under then-President Joe Biden. It was launched into the alleged conspiracy to overturn the results of the 2020 election. The investigation was later taken over by Special Counsel Jack Smith. Smith wrote in his final report that toll records showed that President Trump allegedly tried to reach out to 2 senators, and he also directed a co-conspirator to call members of Congress to convince them to delay certifying the election results. But yesterday, Grassley said in a statement, "Based on the evidence to date, Arctic Frost and related weaponization of federal law enforcement under Biden was arguably worse than Watergate." Grassley described then FBI actions in the investigation as an unconstitutional breach, and he called on FBI Director Kash Patel to hold accountable the personnel who were involved. In response, an automated message from the FBI's press office indicated that the reply would not be coming due to the government shutdown. Then Patel wrote on X the next day that following the latest revelations of the baseless monitoring of members of Congress by the prior leadership team of the FBI has terminated employees, eliminated the FBI's public corruption team, and started an investigation that he said will lead to additional measures. And today, Attorney General Pam Bondi also reacted to Arctic Frost when Grassley brought up the new revelations.
Chairman Grassley, that's what we've been talking about when we refer to the weaponization of government. Operation Arctic Frost was an unconstitutional, undemocratic abuse of power. During Arctic Frost, the FBI also placed 92 linked Republican individuals and Republican groups, such as Charlie Kirk's Turning Point, on their list. This is the kind of conduct that shattered the American people's faith in our government, as I said in my opening statement. We are ending this weaponization. Our FBI is targeting violent criminals, child predators, and other lawbreakers, not sitting senators who happen to be from the wrong political party. Several of your colleagues sitting at this dais were targeted, and others. We will continue to stop that throughout the Justice Department. That is the ultimate weaponization of government.
Regarding the Arctic Frost operation, targeting 92 conservative organizations, including Turning Point USA, Grassley questioned Patel about those records during a September hearing, and Patel responded that the FBI will not be weaponized anymore on either side of the aisle. Yesterday, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court ruled that the families of individuals who donated their bodies to Harvard Medical School may sue Harvard University. The families allege that the university mishandled the remains of their relatives and is responsible for the former Harvard Medical School morgue manager selling organs from their loved ones' bodies on the black market. On Monday, the Massachusetts Supreme Judicial Court reversed a lower court ruling which shielded the university from legal action. The court also ruled that Mark F. Cicchelli, The managing director of the Harvard Medical School's anatomical gift program is legally liable. He used to be the morgue manager. He performed autopsies on donated bodies, and he stole and sold their organs, which had been donated to Harvard Medical School for research purposes. In his opinion, Judge Scott Kafka wrote that the plaintiffs had sufficient grounds to sue Harvard University for failing to act in good faith when handling the remains and for allowing the macabre scheme spanning several years. The prosecutors stated that Cicchelli began committing these crimes in 2018, stealing heads, brains, skin, and organs from cadavers. He transported them from Harvard Medical School morgue in Boston to his home in Goffstown, New Hampshire, where he and his wife sold them. Harvard University now faces 12 lawsuits. Relatives of 47 body donors allege that Harvard acted negligently, claiming that the university turned a blind eye to Cicchelli's years of misconduct until he was indicted in 2023. Harvard Medical School fired Cicchelli in 2023 and described his actions as morally reprehensible. A Massachusetts trial judge ruled last year that Harvard University would enjoy broad immunity as long as it sincerely complied with the state's Uniform Anatomical Gift Act. But in Monday's ruling, Judge Kafka noted that these lawsuits have sufficient grounds to allege that Harvard University failed to comply with the law, including its failure to establish mechanisms that could have prevented the dismemberment of the donated bodies and the removal of organs from them. And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember to leave a comment below the video. This is really helping us to be seen all around the world. The more people who watch Front Page, the more freedom-loving people the world will have. And please hit the like button and hit the notification bell after subscribing. And please share this video with your friends and family because everybody deserves to know the truth.